The Mongol Empire had crushed kingdoms from China to Eastern Europe. City after city burned to the ground. Millions fled in terror. No army had ever truly stopped them. Then, one man changed history. His name was Saif ad-Din Qutuz. And without him, the world you know today might have looked very different. In the year 1258, the impossible happened. Baghdad, the greatest city of the Islamic world, fell. Libraries that contained centuries of knowledge were thrown into the Tigris River. The water, historians wrote, turned black from the ink of countless books. The mighty Abbasid Caliphate collapsed. Across the Muslim world, fear spread like wildfire. Everyone believed the Mongols could never be defeated. Everyone. Except one man in Egypt. Long before he became a sultan, Qutuz was a child. Historians believe he was born into a noble Turkic family connected to the Khwarezmian royal house. But fate was cruel. During the Mongol invasions, he was captured. Everything he had was taken from him. His family. His homeland. His freedom. Sold into slavery, the young boy was carried across distant lands until he reached Egypt. Few could have imagined that this slave would one day command the army that would stop the greatest empire on earth. Egypt was unlike any other kingdom. Its greatest warriors were not born into noble families. They were bought as slaves. Young boys from the Turkic steppes and the Caucasus were trained for years in horsemanship, swordsmanship, archery, and military discipline. These elite soldiers became known as the Mamluks. Most died in obscurity. But a few became legends. Qutuz was one of them. Day after day, he trained without rest. Every scar became a lesson. Every battle made him stronger. The frightened boy who had once been sold in chains was slowly becoming one of the finest warriors in the Islamic world. While Qutuz prepared for the future, the Mongols continued their march. No kingdom seemed capable of stopping them. Persia had fallen. The Abbasid Caliphate had been destroyed. Syria was collapsing. One by one, rulers surrendered without a fight. Then a message arrived in Egypt. It came from Hulagu Khan. Its meaning was simple. Submit. Or be destroyed. The Mongols expected another frightened king. Instead, they would face Qutuz. The message from Hulagu Khan was not a negotiation. It was a warning. Surrender. Or suffer the same fate as Baghdad. Across Asia, rulers had bowed before the Mongols. They knew resistance often meant destruction. But Qutuz refused to kneel. When the Mongol envoys entered Cairo, they expected fear. Instead, they faced a ruler who had already made his decision. Qutuz ordered their execution. Their heads were displayed at the city gates. It was an unmistakable declaration. Egypt would fight. The execution shocked the Islamic world. There was no turning back. Qutuz gathered every soldier he could find. Veteran Mamluk cavalry. Bedouin scouts. Archers. Horsemen. Every man understood what was at stake. If Egypt fell, there would be no one left to stop the Mongols. For the first time in generations, fear gave way to determination. As the army marched north, another danger appeared. The Crusader states still controlled parts of the Holy Land. For years, Muslims and Crusaders had been enemies. Yet this time, something unexpected happened. The Crusaders chose neutrality. They allowed Qutuz's army to pass through their territory. They feared the Mongols even more than the Mamluks. Soon, two of the greatest armies on earth were moving toward the same destination. A place called Ain Jalut. There, history would change forever. September 3, 1260. The Valley of Ain Jalut. A place surrounded by hills, forests, and narrow passages. Unlike the endless open plains where the Mongols usually dominated, this battlefield limited their greatest strength, speed. Qutuz had chosen the ground carefully. He knew he could not defeat the Mongols with brute force. He would have to outthink them. Hidden among the hills, elite Mamluk cavalry waited in silence. The trap was set. Leading the Mongol army was Kitbuka. He was one of the empire's most experienced commanders. Confident after years of victory, he believed this battle would end like all the others. The Mongol horse archers charged forward. Thousands of arrows darkened the sky. The Mamluk front line began to retreat. Exactly as Qutuz had planned. The Mongols pursued without hesitation. They believed victory was already theirs. Then, everything changed. Hidden Mamluk cavalry burst from the hills. The valley erupted into chaos. The Mongols suddenly found themselves surrounded. Still, they refused to surrender. The fighting became brutal. Steel crashed against steel. Horses collided. Dust and blood covered the battlefield. For a moment, even Qutuz's army began to falter. Victory seemed to be slipping away. Then the Sultan made a decision that would become legend. He removed his helmet, rode to the front, and shouted, "Wa Islama! O Islam!" His warriors answered with a thunderous charge. The Mamluk counterattack crashed into the Mongol lines with overwhelming force. For hours, the battlefield echoed with the sound of steel, galloping horses, and desperate cries. Kitbuka refused to retreat. He fought until the very end, determined to die as a Mongol commander rather than flee in defeat. One by one, the Mongol formations collapsed. The army that had conquered kingdoms across Asia was finally breaking. For the first time in generations, the Mongols were defeated in open battle. The victory at Ain Jalut changed history. The myth of Mongol invincibility had been shattered. The advance toward Egypt stopped. Soon, the Mamluks reclaimed Damascus and much of Syria. For millions across the Islamic world, hope returned. Historians still debate how history might have changed if Qutuz had lost. But one fact remains clear. Ain Jalut became one of the most important battles of the Middle Ages. Yet the story of Qutuz did not end in triumph. Only weeks after his greatest victory, while returning to Cairo, he was assassinated. The exact motives remain debated by historians. Many accounts point to rival Mamluk leaders, including Baybars, who soon became sultan. Qutuz ruled for less than a year. But in that brief time, he achieved what no king, emperor, or general before him had done. He proved that the Mongol Empire could be stopped. History often remembers the men who built empires. But sometimes, the greatest heroes are those who stopped them. Saif ad-Din Qutuz ruled Egypt for less than a year. He left behind no magnificent palace. No vast empire stretching across continents. No dynasty bearing his name. Yet in a single battle, he accomplished what the greatest kings of his age could not. At Ain Jalut, he broke the legend of Mongol invincibility. His courage gave the Islamic world time to recover. And his victory reshaped the future of the Middle East. Centuries later, historians still study that day, not because of the size of the armies, but because of the consequences of the outcome. One man. One battlefield. One decision. Sometimes, that is all it takes to change history forever. If you enjoyed this journey into one of history's greatest turning points, don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic documentaries about forgotten heroes, legendary battles, and the people who shaped our world. Because history isn't just about the past. It's about understanding how our world became what it is today. Thank you for watching.